Hello and welcome to Aspen Talks Health. I'm Dr. Nicola Siso and I am joined again by Katherine Kaufman. She is here to discuss her Honesty program, which is all about how to get healthy foods in schools. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Katherine is a certified health practitioner. She is the founder of Kathy Crackers, which are delicious. You can find those around Aspen already. And the founder of Wellness Mind Body.
Yes, thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. So tell us about your Honesty program. What does that stand for?
Thank you. So I'm developing the program right now, so I am in the beginning stages, and my intention with the Honesty program, it's an integrative program modeling health and wellness in schools, not only with nutrition, but also mindfulness and self-regulation.
Good.
Yeah.
Interesting. How do you combine the two?
So for many years I've been studying nutrition and well-being, and as if you watched the first time, I have a 9-year-old, and so since then I've been studying conscious discipline, which is a self-regulation program, which I discussed on our first episode, and so I've noticed there's a very big importance of both of those. However, I haven't seen them integrated in any models, and so the Honesty program, to me, it really is about being honest about how imperative and the value of modeling, since that's how children are learning so much. So by modeling nutrition coupled with mindfulness and conscious discipline tools, then we can create it. So you were asking, what does that look like? So there's structures. And the Honesty program is an acronym that has been created. A friend of mine, Lee, who is a branding specialist, he helped me when he realized all the ideas that I had. So it's an acronym, and it stands for healthy, organic, nourishing, education, which is the core of the program, sustainable, transparency, and you. And I'm happy to go in and explain what that means. So in the healthy category, we're talking about mindfulness, self-regulation, and really educating the staff on how to handle stress differently, because it is stressful. It's stressful to be a human being, and it's certainly stressful to be around children all day long and in a work environment. So to bring in these tools into the education, which is happening. I've just moved here into the Valley, and at the Aspen Public School, they have regular workshops on resilience. Last night was an amazing workshop on the executive brain, executive functioning. So it is happening. We're offering that education, which can help adults model more effectively self-regulation. So that's part of the healthy category, is making sure that we bring mindfulness as part of the school climate, the culture, not where the teacher's trained or it's a after-school curriculum, but it's part of the environment. So having breathing brain breaks, structured movement for the children, in addition to free play, which children learn so much. But making sure that we have structures in place to bring in this. And it's like a minute or two. It's not a whole day where we have to change the curriculum. So it's just making sure it's just it's woven into the culture and the climate of these schools.
How wonderful would it be if from a child you're taught to stop every couple of hours and take a deep breath, and then that practice becomes just normal and natural. Right now, I have to set a timer to remind myself.
Exactly, and for adults, we weren't taught this in the 70s and the 80s. They didn't really talk about mindfulness, and we knew as a child that stress was a #1 killer as a child, and it's still a big problem in our culture, but we aren't teaching that. And so when we teach it to children, it becomes their first language. Like you said, for us, I need a timer. We have to wear a watch to remind me, oh, I need to breathe. I haven't taken a deep breath in an hour. But with children, that's why I find this program so important right now and such deep value, because we do, I believe, have an epidemic of mental, emotional, physical dis-ease among the human world, but particularly among children. So it feels like it's a very important prerogative for us to teach children when they're young in schools. And we can't expect parents to do it because they haven't been taught. So just like we taught children in schools about recycling 15 years ago, and the kids came home to their parents and said, hey, mommy, daddy, recycle, and parents said, what's that? It's our job, I believe, in schools, and that's why, again, I find the Honesty name so valuable. We need to be honest about what we're teaching children. If we don't teach them, they will not learn, because they're not going to learn it at home. So I really have found how imperative it is for me, and certainly for my son as well, and all human beings, to take that step. And you can see mindfulness, it's growing. It's because people are realizing the value. So teaching it, integrating it into education, into preschool, into elementary schools, I think is vital for when they're in high school.
Yeah.
And of course, here in the Valley, I've heard about the depression, the suicide rate. It is a real issue here, not only in Colorado, but nationwide. These skills will give teenagers something that they don't have today. So that's really what this honesty program is about, is giving children a chance to have a productive life where they have the resilience and ability to handle things.
And the tools.
And the tools, because
Right.
life, I don't think, is getting easier. At least it certainly doesn't seem that way. And so not giving those tools, I think, is a disservice.
Yeah.
So the healthy is the mindfulness in the classroom. The organic is
Yeah.
something really exciting. So O stands for organic, and that's farms, bringing in gardens to schools, which again, you hear there are gardens popping up here and there, but really bringing this to schools nationwide where they have gardens, not only for the children to learn about how to garden, but also to supplement their food program and even supplement for the families. I've heard sometimes when in schools when they've educated children that junk food and processed food is not an ideal food for their brain to function optimally. They go home, their parents can't afford real food. I bought a cauliflower last week. It was $12. And so clearly we're subsidizing, you know, it's a bigger problem. We're subsidizing the wrong food. The junk food is $2 and the real food is not affordable for most human beings. And so for the organic portion of this, my intention and hope is that these gardens actually help the community as well, you know, and so that's something I'm excited about. And I've heard here in the Valley that there are different not-for-profits and funding for these gardens, and at Roaring Fork and other high schools in the Valley, there are domes where there are greenhouses and things like that. So it's happening, but I want to bring this as a nationwide program and have this integrated as a model here in the Roaring Fork first.
Love that.
So that's the organic. The next
Before
one,
you
yes,
go on
tell
to
me.
the next one,
Please.
that is very important. First of all, for the nutrition quantity, the difference between conventional and organic is mind-blowing when it comes to iron and potassium and magnesium. The levels are from 10 to 300 in extreme differences. And then also, if you have a child actually with their hands in the soil and watching something sprout, how much more eager would they be to enjoy it and indulgent and wouldn't fight to not eat their broccoli or, you know,
That's
because
so true.
they've experienced it and now they see where it comes from. They've participated.
They're part of the process of the growing process. It is
Right.
so valuable. And the only time my son actually, the first time he ate a green bean was on a plant at a garden school in
Love it.
Asheville, North Carolina. And he ate as many as he could.
Of course.
I bought them at the store. He wouldn't touch them.
Ha!
So it is imperatively valuable for these children to see how to grow nutrient-dense, real food in their own hometown and be able to share it with the community. And they can make stuff, and then it can be a cottage industry, and the kids can start to get involved. So there's so much. All of these steps can grow trees.
Love it.
And branches that can spread in ways we have no idea yet.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
go ahead for the
Thank
end.
you. Thank you for, let's stop at each one. And so the next one, nourishing, which is really valuable as well. And that's where I feel like I want to integrate the tools that I've learned with conscious discipline and the structures, like a kindness tree, something so simple of creating, you know, in multiple ways you can make it, but it's like a tree and you can put little stars, little hearts on the tree every time anyone in the classroom notices a kind and helpful act. And at the end of the day or the end of the week, they can notice how many kind and helpful acts did they notice. And something as simple as that, because what you focus on, you get more of, something as simple as that can change the climate of the classroom for noticing the people that are mean and the people that you don't connect with. It's like, wait, I just noticed they picked up the pen for their friend when it fell. Or I noticed a child was having a hard time and another child went over there. So as the teacher, they can always notice kind and helpful acts and say, hey, I noticed, Brett, you were helpful to your friend who was having a hard time. Go put a heart on the tree. And so a structure as simple as that. There's other structures like the safe place, instead of time out, instead of punishing a child for being dysregulated. So anytime a child is having a hard time and being hurtful, they're not in their higher functions of their brain. We know this. They're not a mean, bad human being. They don't have the skills. So in a safe place structure, it's like a cozy corner. And they can have, you know, a blanket or a journal or something that makes them feel good. And And some parents don't like that, or teachers feel like, wait a minute, why should we make them feel good when they've disrupted our classroom? And this is a paradigm shift, going from punishment to supporting children and helping them get self-regulated. And we know that children only learn skills when they're in their higher parts of their brain, in their prefrontal lobe, by feeling safe. If they don't feel safe, it doesn't matter what you tell them, they're not going to hear you.
Interesting.
So these structures, I think, are so valuable in schools and in homes. And again, my intention by modeling this, the honesty program in a school, is that children can go home and create safe places. And also safe places for the staff. You know, like we need a safe place in our home when adults get stressed out. It's like, oh, what can I do to feel better? We go on walks, we might have a comfy couch, we might call a friend. Just like that, children need places to calm. And then they can come out and we can role play and practice another way of handling that stressful situation.
Perfect. Makes so much sense.
Yeah. And the next one is education, which is really the core of this honesty program. And that's incorporating all these steps. They're all integrated. It's really hard to separate them. But it's offering education to the staff and ongoing education for the parents. So even though, again, we're doing this at school, but parents need that support because we only will repeat normally what we were taught, particularly under stress. So we need ongoing education like what is happening here, which I'm so thrilled about, to be part of this public school community that is offering continual workshops, and they're getting a lot of parents, which gives me a good feeling that people are interested in doing it differently.
Right.
We want to stop yelling, we want to stop hating our children that we love so deeply, and they're just being children. They don't have the brain function to have the impulse control. We don't have impulse control. My husband recently did an experiment with me where he said no to me about something that I wanted, and I got pretty frustrated. And so even adults have a difficult time. So imagine children who don't have executive brain function developed, and they're saying now up into 28 years old.
Wow.
For a human brain to be fully adult, that's a lot of years of practice.
Yes.
And so that's, again, what the education is modeling, and also bringing in nutritionists to schools to tell children and educate them, why are we going to eat whole foods? Why aren't we eating processed foods? So children learn from an early age how to take care of their body, which I do believe may be helpful for depression, anxiety, and things happen as they get older. They realize, wait, I know how to care for my body. I know how to put nutrient-dense food that helps my brain function, helps my nervous system, my immune system. I mean, we know that in so many levels that nutrition can affect our well-being.
It's even more than just getting away from the refined sugars, which you can see what happens to kids when you put them on sugar.
Yes.
They go nuts, and they're draining their adrenal glands. They're fatiguing themselves long term, but even more important. And as is important probably as getting off the refined is getting onto a really nutrient dense.
Yes.
Food program.
And I like to focus on more what you can put in instead of what you can take out. I find that when I'm educating people about nutrition and food changes, there's often some anxiety. And so it's like, we're not going to focus on what you can't have. We're going to focus on what you can have. And we're going to fill you up so full with nourishment, those cravings will subside.
Right.
And that when the cravings come, you're going to realize those cravings aren't coming from a need to nurture your body. It's a need to check out of your body. And that's why part of this program, I feel, I'm trying to figure out what the team is needed, what kind of educators and professionals. And I think therapy, some sort of counseling is helpful, because we're often feeding parts of ourselves that are not related to our body function.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a really important piece. So education is for the parents, it's for the staff, it's part of mindfulness, it's part of nutrition. And another thing I learned several years ago in a L'Atelier, it was a Reggio Emilia school in Florida. They had the children take part of actually making food every week in their classroom. Raw, organic dishes, so you don't need a stove and you don't need, just a blender, a bowl, and a food processor, and getting children involved in making food. So they made food and then they shared it amongst the classroom. And so that's part of the education, is getting children involved not only in the gardening, but in preparing preparing foods that they've never seen or tasted. And so it's really exciting, this piece to me, on how we can implement it into a school environment where the curriculum is already a bit overstretched.
Right.
So, the Honesty program, my highest intention is to come up with a program that's simple, repeatable, and totally transformational. And so I'm working on that now, and as we conclude this, to really see how can we do this. I
Right.
don't have all the answers right now, but I have a good feeling.
I'm sure. Preparing food in classes also adds that benefit of you're seeing other kids eating it as well, and you've participated, so you won't have that resistance. You're breaking down the resistance with each one of these steps. It's very smart.
Very much. And also just working together, collaborating as a team, working on mathematics and recipes. And we're just educating, we're giving children a future. The way that it is now with the convenience, we can just eat this junk food, then it's like we're not teaching them how to nurture themselves and how to nurture their families in 20, 30 years when we're not here.
Right.
Yeah, very important.
So important.
So I'm excited about that piece. The next piece is sustainability, S for sustainable, and meaning that what we're doing in the school, we know is good for the environment, it's good for the staff, it's good for the employees, and it's good for the children. And one example, a couple years ago in another school that I was a part of in Miami, it was Earth Day. And the next day, they told all the children to bring disposable water bottles for a school trip. And to me, that's not sustainable. We're trying to teach how to take care of the environment, and plastic water bottles isn't part of that problem solving.
Right.
And, for Easter, some schools, they buy trinkets from Target or different places, and they put them in plastic eggs, and then children find them, and then they throw them away. So I feel like we're not teaching and modeling children. We don't have an earth to do this. We need to be more responsible. Have the children in art classes make eggs, make things with their hands out of wool or whatever you can create with, and make that an Easter egg hunt where it's actually you're finding a treasure, not a disposable trinket that you throw in the garbage.
There is no away. Someone made that
Yes.
point once before, and I was like, that is genius.
Yes.
There is no away.
Yeah.
What goes down the drain,
Yes.
the chlorine, the bleach, all of that goes into the oceans, and then you eat it in the fish if you eat fish. And
Yes.
there is no way.
Yes, reminds me of someone saying empty calories, sugar is empty calories. It's not empty calories, they're toxic calories.
Yeah.
There is no empty, there is no away,
True.
and that is very much. And so sustainable also has to do with the cleaning products that we use in our school.
Yes.
I work with essential oils, and I found them very effective,
Yeah.
and there's other companies that have totally non-toxic, FDA-approved cleaners, and yet we're still spraying and using ammonia products and bleach products in our classrooms, and we have an epidemic also of bronchial asthmatic problems,
Right.
and we're keeping our kids in an environment and the staff with poison chemicals. So
Right.
this program, it really is, the intention is to have a holistic program that
Beautiful.
covers everything, to make sure that we're not only doing one thing, so we've got good nutrition, but then you're spraying bleach and then you're shaming your children to behave differently. So we need to bridge holistic wellness and health with behavior and nutrition. And again, that's what this program.
It's beautiful. I'm so excited you're doing this. So, T.
T is transparency. So we're all in this together. It's not like, oh, there's one person over there and then she's hiding out having this over there. We're all in this together. Everything you do affects everyone else. And we have to realize we are one world and we are one person. And if you take the time to actually make eye contact with another human being, you'll see beyond their shell is the same essence that you have. And so I feel like in schools and just in the world, we're not able to fully connect. So transparency, we're all in this together. We're all human beings. We all have suffering and we all have joy, if we're fortunate enough to connect with that. And we need to support each other in that process and hold space for each other as we transition out of a world where we don't talk to strangers, we don't make eye contact, and we live on a processed food diet, which disconnects us. Yeah. And so, transparency, we're all in this, we're gonna help each other. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's valuable because I feel, again, with the depression and the things that I'm hearing with anxiety and the addiction qualities of human beings today, that we're not connecting. And so we're not connecting because I don't want you to see me. But I don't want to hide, and I want to support people. You don't need to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah? You're beautiful with your pain, and you're beautiful with your joy. And that's what transparency is. It's like we don't need to hide certain things. We don't need to hide conflict. We need to celebrate it. As I said at the executive brain workshop last night, children will only learn through mistakes. They won't learn from us rescuing them. They need to see us in our authentic, raw self. So transparency is giving the tools that it's okay to be who you are with whatever's going on, because you're a person just like me.
You're right.
And we all are in this together.
Love it. Last one is why.
Why is you the parent, the principal, the administrator, the human being, to be honest about what you're modeling to children. And I feel like Julian was playing soccer recently, and it was the last game, and one of the coaches yelled out, "Hey kids, come get your sugar, got your donuts if your parents don't mind." And I realized, well, what if we do mind, and how are you modeling to my son, who is a growing athlete, about health and wellness? He just played soccer for 2 hours, and now this is how you're going to nurture him and nourish his body and his brain.
Bananas or the
and fruit, and that is nature's wonder. And so I feel like we have a responsibility, particularly people in the education field, so the athletic coaches, the school teachers, and the administrator, to be honest, we have a responsibility in our educational environment of this century to be progressive models for children of tomorrow today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you need from the community to make this happen?
So I'm interested in connecting with farmers and nutritionists and mindfulness experts. I know Lisa Goddard. I met her recently, and I'd like to connect with her again. And I know there's the Aspen Tree, or now Farm Collaborative. There are people who are integrating into this community, bringing brilliant things. And again, since I'm so new, there's so much I don't know about. But really, I want to see how we can make this program repeatable and simple to bring into the school systems here. I know that the Country Day School, I've heard, and the community school are very similar to this model, that they have a lot of this already integrated into their school climate. So connecting with them, and then really just having a small team and seeing how we can bridge out. So school teachers, people who have connections with administrators and principals and superintendents, to go into the schools here in the Roaring Fork. And then again, my intention is to employ people nationwide to go into every school that they can and bring this honesty program and make it a mandatory. We need progressive places for our children to learn, because we cannot teach them. Self-regulation is very difficult.
Right.
I've worked on it a long time, and even I regularly stumble back. So we're asking staff and teachers to get on this really quickly. It is a lifetime process. So if an administrator, though, can at least attempt to say, hey, we're going to create an environment in this school, we're not going to have sugar for celebrations. We're going to connect and have a treasure box where kids can choose today, for my birthday, extra recess, or song circle, or free dance. It's something that actually connects them to human beings instead of kind of brings them back to a place in their brain that they're not functioning. So it's finding people who have connections, and maybe grant writers, because I feel like I want this to be a not-for-profit, and I need grants to help implement the farming, for example, or bring mindfulness into the school systems and help with buying more green products. We can't say we're progressive and then be buying things that are toxic.
Yeah.
So I need grant writers and try to figure out, I need skills I don't have.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of these things that you want to change as being costly.
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift almost of the principal, of the teachers, and then a little bit of training in terms of the mindfulness, and then the farming and the products. They're anyway buying products is just, again, a shift in choices.
But unfortunately, it seems like with our government, and I feel like maybe that's the step I need to go. I'm trying to figure out how to be most effective in my life, but it seems like real food is not affordable. So I talked to a Montessori school recently, and they said, yeah, we serve hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken fingers. That's what we can afford. And so it feels like there is, at least in their mindset, money is stopping them. So if I can get grants and say, hey, here's money so you can offer your children nutrient-dense food that is not only going to increase the scores of your testing, but increase their ability to function, increase their ability to connect, lower aggression rates, lower attention deficit issues. And I mean, we have so many problems in classrooms, and then we're feeding them sugar and we're feeding them unhealthy food, and we're expecting them to grow into resilient human beings. And science has proven it just doesn't happen very well that way.
No, we need the vitamins and the minerals for our brains to function correctly. The ADD is probably a perfect example of that.
Yep.
Definitely food. You have had some challenges with Julian. How much of them do you think are related to food?
Well, it's interesting because Halloween just passed, and it was his first Halloween. He wasn't with us, and he went to a friend's, and it was kind of a free-range experience, and it turned into a pretty unpleasant evening, I heard from the mother. And they said it wasn't just Julian who had Snickers and M&Ms for the first time, I think, in his life. But there was behavioral issues all around, and some aggression, some name-calling, and Julian participated in some of this behavior, and I spoke to him about it, and he said, Mom, when I ate that candy, I just couldn't think straight. And I said, if I was a lawyer, I would try to do the sugar defense. However, you have to so recognize that when you eat these foods that you're no longer in your prefrontal brain and you don't make good choices, you can end up getting really hurt or hurting someone else. So I think this is a serious health issue besides the diabetes epidemic and all the other epidemics we're having that are food related. I think I read recently by someone, can't recall who, but 85% of all diseases are foodborne. And if that is really true, then we have to step up. And for Halloween, for example, we can share other things. You know, strangers giving candy to children is really not a safe thing. Right. So, you know, with Julian, I definitely have noticed, and he's noticed too. And even when he was 3, and maybe he had his first chocolate, and he said, you know, Mom, when I see the sugar, I know it, the candy, I know it's not good for me, but then my brain goes like this, and I can't think straight. That was before he even ate it.
Wow.
So he knew very early on that that type of food takes him away from being in the present moment, where anything is possible. But we get doped up on sugar, and one of my theories, and I'm not a PhD though, maybe I'll hopefully collaborate with one. My theory is that giving sugar to children, it's in there to toddlers, and even in the baby food there's sugar in some brands, that giving sugar to toddlers, elementary school, by the time they're a teenager, an Oreo is not going to cut it anymore. And I believe that sugar is linked or is leading to drug and alcohol addiction and other addictions of just checking out, whether it's shopping or drugs or sex, whatever it is. I feel like we're not giving tools on how to handle self-control.
We're almost out of time, but I think the sugar is targeting your reward center, and then you become hooked on that stimulus.
Yes, and we don't.
That's why you end up turning to other things. It's so true.
And that's the Honesty program, is really giving children the true skills on how to handle upset. You can still celebrate and have chocolate and ice cream. There is healthy ways you can have it, but not as a reward, but as part of a celebration. So
we are out of time, unfortunately. But how can people get a hold of you?
So I have my new website. It is just being formed. Is wellnessmb.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is on there, and you can learn about the Honesty program. And it's I'm happy to talk to anyone anytime.
Perfect. And I forgot to mention you are also a jewelry designer. You made these beautiful things. So
Thank
if
you.
you're interested in these, please contact us as well.
Harmonic jewelry. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, check out aspentalkshealth.com for more information.